very exciting day for us and, our program, our fans, our players, man. This is what it's all about. So we're excited and, anxious to get started. So we'll finish another week of recruiting and probably get into, Clemson next weekend or the beginning of the following week. So,
Mike, in the grand scheme of things, do you guys really care where you're seated or anything as long as you're just in?
No, I don't. Playing is, whoever you play, it's going to be a tough matchup. The four teams left are all great teams, and then, there's a few other teams that are really good too. So just to be in it, I think is exciting, and this is, this is what it's all about. So again, it just so happens that we get Clemson again, and it's going to be interesting.
Mike, it is quite a story. You guys go through such a tough year last year, finish it off with that bowl loss to Clemson, and here you are. You had a great season, and you're in the playoff, and boom, right off the bat, you meet them again.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting how it worked out that way. But again, we're drastically two different teams than we were a year ago at this time, and they're different with Deshaun Watson, a very mobile and dual threat quarterback, and we're different with our quarterback, and certainly defenses styles are similar to what we had a year ago. I know Brent does a lot of the same things, and we do, and we're just going to have to play a lot better than we did a year ago. And we struggled in that game, and they just kind of outplayed us and out-executed us for 60 minutes. And so that'll give us a lot of incentive and motivation, but it still gets down to you got to beat a really good team. You're going to have to play well. You're going to have to execute on both sides of the ball to beat the number one team in Miami.
Mike, did you have a chance to watch the games yesterday? And if so, were you kind of sort of scouting?
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling if Michigan State won, this would happen. They're not drastically different than they were a year ago. The mobility of the quarterback's different than it was a year ago. His ability rushed for, I think, over 100 yards last night. You could see the quarterback run game was much more prevalent in this game than it had been, going into last year's game. But we watched a lot of tape. Last year structurally they're not a whole lot different, but their ability to run with the quarterback is, creates some stress, some more stress on your defense, and then they got great, perimeter guys, and he can throw it, as well as he runs it. So those are huge challenges for a defense.
You had a chance to play in Arlington. Any disappointment that you're going to Miami instead of Arlington?
I think more so for the fans, but again, they'll manage their way to Miami. It's not a bad place to hang out for a week either. So, I'm just disappointed for them. Players, it would have been nice, but I think everyone had a feeling that was going to happen the way it did, and that's kind of what happened. So, the matchups, they're all going to be, again, they're all going to be tough.
Mike, it's a football playoff, but it's also a bowl game. How do you guys manage that? You just treat it like you would when you guys have been to any BCS bowl in the past?
No, I don't think this is just your average bowl game. This is different. So this is new to us all. So, but this isn't your, we're not going to the Russell Athletic Bowl. No disrespect to them, but this is different. There's another game, hopefully, 10 days or 11 days after. That's your goal. Our goal is to win a national championship, and so I think the focus, the week leading up to this game will be much different than even playing in the Sugar Bowl. This is different, and it's new. But I think our players will react to it differently. Just knowing what's at stake in this particular game, I think is drastically different. We'll enjoy the time and the place, but I think it's much easier to keep your players, in line, knowing what the prize is, really at the end of it.
Coach, I know you had said after the Bedlam one that every team you lost to last year you beat except for Clemson. Do you kind of see this as a chance for redemption? Do you look at it like that?
Well, you know, we weren't playing well at the end of the year last year, and in really all phases. You know, we just weren't a complete team. We're a much different team, you know, right now than we were at the time we played Clemson. And again, it's another opponent. We don't look at it that way. We look at, you know, we need to go out and play our best football, and regardless of the opponent, it just happens to be Clemson. I don't think, you know, that part of it is. It's interesting how it played out this way. It's just kind of played this way, and it just happens to be Clemson. But again, we're solely focused on, you know, winning another national championship here at Oklahoma. And again, it's a great opponent in Clemson. We're familiar with each other, but I think we understand we have to play a whole lot better, and we are playing a whole lot better than we did a year ago. How much
have you kept up with Brent this year?
I talked to Brent a lot. Yeah, more so at the beginning of the year, once the season starts running along. But you know, we exchange text quite often, and we were going to try to meet. You know, in the off season, we just weren't able to, you know, work it out schedule wise, because he's done a great job, you know, defensively and sharing, you know, ideas. But you know, luckily it probably didn't work out that way. But you know, they changed. Their style is a little different than ours, but both, you know, obviously very successful.
What was it like going against him last year on the opposite sideline?
Oh, you know, different. But again, it's just good hanging out and seeing him and talking to him for, you know, we had a night together. He's a great friend, great person, but this will be different. You know, it's just, it becomes business once the game starts, and that's really what it'll be about. But we're still going to be great friends.
As a coordinator, how hard is it, as you look at Lincoln Riley and what he's done this season, how hard is it to come in your first year and have the kind of impact that he's had?
Well, you know, Lincoln's a very, you know, he's a very innovative and very bright coach. It didn't surprise me. You know, watching him, I knew in the spring, it just took a while to get adjusted, I think, to our personnel. Our running backs is different than what he's used to dealing with. But once he got, you know, those guys in position to do what they do, along with Baker and the great wideouts, it you know, that I was, you know, I think we all have great confidence in him and his ability to learn and learn, you know, how quickly he learned. It was probably the most impressive part of him, and, you know, just how not stubborn he is. And that says a lot about, you know, a great coach. He's willing to adjust and adapt, and I think that's what all great coaches do. And I thought the offensive staff just adjusted our personnel and our quarterback, you know, really amazingly throughout the course of the year, and we're open to new ideas and utilizing our personnel, and that's really why we had great success.
Have you had a chance to text with Bob yet about and if so, what did he say? Or?
No. You know, we know what we got to do, and again, it's you know, we'll start. I think you become more anxious now to get started. It's going to be hard to recruit, but you know, we're in a good position. You know, Oklahoma's out in front, so you know, we have to take advantage of this time to continue to recruit. But I think really on the back of our minds will be, you know, this game and what we need to do differently than we did, you know, obviously a year ago.
Mike, the playoffs a different deal than just bowls. You guys have done bowls, but not the playoff. Will you ask advice of like Urban Meyer or Mark Helfrich or anybody like that to see what they did that first year? I'm
sure Bob will. He's, you know, that's how they handle their team. And again, like I said earlier, this is not your average bowl game. As great as those bowls are, this is a different feel, just because you know, you're playing for a championship, and there's a possibility of another game and all that. So it's going to be a different feel to it leading up to the game. There isn't going to be a finality, hopefully. You don't know. It could be, as the game, you don't want it to be, but, you're always thinking that there's another game behind it, and leading up to this game, you're playing for a championship. So there's, it's a very different feel, which is different.
Will that affect the way maybe you guys prep versus a bowl, whereas, you can do this and you can do that, but you might have another game, so you have to back off or whatever it is like that. You think that affects that?
I don't think going into the initial game it'll change too much. A lot of prep work will be done for the following two teams, following that game, so it's ready. But I don't see going into this game being much different than, leading up to, other big bowl games and championship. It's like a championship game, but you possibly have another one. So,
Mike, you guys were playing really well at the end of the regular season. How do you get that back with so much time off between now and December 31st?
Well, I think we were beat up a little bit at the end of the year, too. A lot of teams are. Everyone's beat up at this stage of the game. But, getting Zach back healthy, I know what he's capable of doing. So getting our other guys that were nicked up, back Samaje, Joe are banged up. I mean, we have some, great players that were playing, less than 100%. And we just need to get our team, I think, strong and healthy again. And finding a rhythm, is always what you worry about, I think, more offensively than defensively. But they're smart. We go a lot of good on good, and we'll try to, find that rhythm offensively that we had. But, all teams are, facing that, bar 1 week. So I know all those other teams are going to, be off this week as well. They're going to take a week off to get started. So they're going to have to, find their rhythm too.
When you guys will get back out on the practice field?
I would think our guys are doing some stuff on their own, kind of like they do in the summer, and then we will probably practice next weekend. I would think Saturday. I know we have the banquet Friday. Saturday, I would think we have some recruits coming in. I think Saturday and Sunday, Bob will set the schedule, but I would think we'll do some, probably not. Maybe with younger and just getting the guys back out. I don't know if we'll specifically prep for Clemson. I wouldn't think those 2 days yet.
Because you didn't have that last chance to make an impact on the playoff committee, were you nervous at all yesterday during the games?
No, but it was strange, watching, as everything was unfolding. It was strange not to, I'm not, I don't have all the answers, but to unify every system, to me, is what it's all about. But they don't play 9 conference games either, except for the Pac, and that's the team that got left out. The other 3 teams, I believe, play 8 conference games? Would that be accurate? The 2 teams that struggle the most play the 9, and nobody says anything about the 9 conference games. They all play. You can look at their schedules and determine what they are. So to me, that's the difference. And so to get everything unified to me would simplify things instead of you're splitting hairs about a lot of different things. Even the rankings, there's probably, any of those 4 teams, the way they're playing right now are justified to be where they're at. But, you could see an Alabama being 1, or, it's whatever. But they're all good teams, and you're going to have to play well here the next, 2 games to win a championship. So the system is what it is, but it's never going to be perfect and as it is right now. But it's the best. I think they've done a great job, getting the 4 best teams.